Guys, I'm Josh, and this week, in honor of the Avengers movie, breaking like every conceivable box office record in history, I'm going to be customizing this Thanos Titan Hero Series figure. Which technically, he isn't really a hero, so the box art is a little bit deceiving. I mean, I guess you could get all philosophical about it and argue the point that he is a hero from a certain perspective, but he did kill half of all life in all of the universe. Like a murderer. So what it should say is the Titan Villain Series. What's that have to do with today's video? Absolutely nothing. But I needed to pad out this intro because I was going to do a little bit with the Infinity Gauntlet, and then this happened. And... Ah! What happened? Why is it on the wrong hand? Which reminds me, I'm doing another giveaway. That's right, I'm going to give this Infinity Gauntlet away for free. I'll give you all the details at the end of the video. Stay tuned. Now let's get started. I've had this Thanos figure sitting on my shelf for the better part of a year now. I've wanted to customize it for a while now, but I wasn't really in any rush. And in all honesty, this was going to be one of two figures that I was going to customize for this video. The other being Iron Man. However, once I started doing some work on this one, it took a lot more time than I was initially projecting. And you'll see why in a bit. The first thing I started to do with the figure was to take this dark blue paint and to repaint the shirt and to add all the blue details around the knees. After that was done, I used this flat rubber tone paint to add all the leather details around the belt, the boots, and on the shoulder pads. Speaking of the shoulders, if you look closely, you can see that I actually painted that portion blue. This was by mistake, of course. When I initially looked at the source picture, I thought it looked blue, but once I turned the brightness up on my phone, I noticed that it was a dark brown. And I actually forgot to film that part, so it kind of worked out. This line of figures that Marvel has come out with is not exactly the highest quality. However, this Thanos figure has a lot of good detail. Like I said before, I've had this figure for quite a while now, and I've actually wanted to customize it ever since I saw Cosplay Chris do his rendition. One thing I knew that I had to touch up was the neck section. You can see here that it's dark blue, and that's just because it's the color of the casting. So to fix that, I'm going to do a little bit of trial and error and mix these four colors of paint to try to match the skin tone. I mixed it all up using a Q-tip and then very carefully applied all of the paint to the affected areas. It actually turned out way better than I thought it would. And even though it wasn't exactly a perfect match, I was pretty happy with it. Now this is where the majority of my time with this project was spent. The eyes of this figure, while more closely matching the comic book counterpart, simply look like garbage compared to the movie version. The first thing I did was to paint the whites of the eyes, and then I used some of that purple paint to narrow them just a bit. And this is where things got a little bit tricky. You see that? That's a single bristle from a paintbrush. I used that to very, very carefully apply just a tiny bit of paint to the eyes. I started off by painting in the pupils, and then I rounded out the irises. Then I mixed just a bit of pink paint to add tear ducts, before using a tiny bit of white to add glare. I was pretty happy with the outcome, but not completely satisfied. So I consulted my brain trust to get their opinion. We came to the conclusion that the blue of the eyes is just too brilliant. So I mixed a bit of gray with it, and then repainted the irises, being careful to enlarge them just a bit. I used a tiny bit more of that purple skin tone paint to do just a bit more of eye lining, and then used that bristle once again to add even larger pupils, before rounding out the irises in black and adding just a little bit of black eyeliner around the eyes, before switching over once again to using some white to add glare to both of the eyes. I was much happier with the results now. Next up, I went to work adding gold details all over the figure. I used my standard metallic gold to accomplish this. First, I started repainting all of the gold on the kneecaps and then adding more gold detail onto the boots. It's kind of strange to me that the manufacturer didn't add these details themselves, but I guess it's probably cheaper and faster. And besides, it's not that big of a deal for me to add the gold myself. The bottom section of the boots doesn't exactly match the screen version, but I got it pretty close. And honestly, this will be masked a bit anyways once I do the weathering. After I got done painting all those gold details on the boots, I moved on to the belt. There wasn't too much to paint here, I just tried to be extra careful to make sure I had nice clean lines. After I got done painting all the gold details on the belt, I flipped the figure over and painted the gold on the back of the boots. I didn't really have a reference to work off of here, so I just kinda used my own judgment. Once the gold was complete on the boots, I moved on to the upper torso. There wasn't anything too fancy here, I just once again tried to make sure I had nice clean lines to help distinguish the gold from the blue and the brown. Once the upper torso was complete, I started painting the Infinity Gauntlet. Even though I knew I was going to repaint the Infinity Stones, I was still careful to avoid adding any gold paint to those areas. Once the gauntlet was complete, I moved on to weathering. For that, I used my standard mixture of black and brown shoe polishes, but I thinned it down a bit with water. I also used some sticky tack to block the eyes on the head, because I didn't want to screw up that nice paint job I did. Typically when I do the weathering, I apply the shoe polish mixture all over the figure or the gun or whatever, and I leave a good portion of it on there because I want it to look dirty and gritty and old. However, with this figure, I was very careful on all of the exposed skin to ensure that he didn't look too dirty. I just wanted to more so expose all of the grooves and recessed areas. I didn't want him to look filthy. The next thing I did was to try to add a little bit of texture to his clothing. For his shirt, I mixed those two blues together and then very carefully dry brushed the detail onto all the piping and ribbon. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this series of figures isn't exactly impressive when it comes to the detail. However, this Thanos figure has a lot of very good detail. And all it takes is just a little bit of paint in the right areas to help showcase that. After adding all the detail to the piping and the ribbing, I went over the entire shirt with an even drier dry brushing, just for a bit more detail. Next up, I did the same thing to his pants. The brown that they use for this figure is not exactly a very nice shade. However, it's suitable for a good base color. To add the detail to the pants, I mixed 2 shades of brown paint together and then once again very carefully dry brushed it on. Once I was satisfied with the final appearance of the pants, I moved on and did the same thing to the boots. The camera doesn't exactly do a great job of picking up all these details, but it really does add a good bit of texturing and character. Both the shirt and the pants look more like fabric, and the boots look more like leather. After all that detailing and texturing was done to the clothing, I moved on to painting the Infinity Stones. Time Stone, Power Stone, Space Stone, Reality Stone, Soul Stone, and Mind Stone. There wasn't exactly anything special or tricky about this. I just thought it would help to brighten the colors a bit to contrast against the gold of the Infinity Gauntlet. And that about wraps it up. Let's take a look at the final figure. I'm actually very happy with the final results with this figure. I really wasn't counting on it taking this much time to paint it, but I'm glad that I took the time that I did to do it, because rushing with any project is just not good. It pays off to take the extra time to do it right. I'm very satisfied with how the texturing turned out in all the clothing, and I think that the Infinity Gauntlet looks fantastic. The shoe polish did a really good job of capturing all the details in the muscles and all the expression on his face. And about that face, I love how the eyes turned out. But what do you guys think? Well, golly, I sure am happy with how this Thanos figure turned out. How do you feel about it, Thanos? Alrighty then. Well guys, as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Just kidding. You thought I forgot about the giveaway, didn't ya? Didn't ya? I didn't. Like I said before, I'm going to give this Infinity Gauntlet away to one lucky viewer. Full disclosure, this isn't even the same gauntlet that I've used in past videos. This bigger movable one didn't somehow transmogrify into this smaller one. Did you think that it did? No, you dumb. I was lying. You know, like a liar. This thing is one of the first things that I ever customized in my ancient pre-YouTube days, otherwise known as, like, spring of last year. Cool fact, it's actually a bank, so you can use it to save up all your pennies so that you can buy one of these bigger movable Infinity Gauntlets. Or some tacos, you know, those are good too. I'm giving it away because, well, nobody really needs to have 2 Infinity Gauntlets. And because, well, I want to, so. If you're interested in winning this, all you have to do is leave a comment below telling me who your favorite character is from the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You do that, and then 1 week after this video goes public, I will take all the names of the people who commented, and I will randomly draw one name to be the lucky winner, and I will ship it to you free of charge. So check back in a week. That's it, guys. I hope you all have a great day and a great week. If you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe below, and share it with your friends or family or whoever. And be sure to check out some of my other stuff that's going to pop up. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.